Hey guys, my house is a mess. My life is very busy, but I gotta tell you guys what happened on my true crime podcast this week. Okay, so just let's go. So the year is 1985. Anyone who's anybody on this planet has feathered bangs. Okay. So March 19th at about 3:30 in the morning, David Brown calls 911 to report he thinks his wife may be injured. She may have been shot, but he doesn't know because he doesn't have the stomach to go and check on her in his bedroom. He gets extremely sick at the sight of blood. Red flag. Okay, let me explain everybody who lives at David Brown's family residency. So we have David on the left. That's the husband. Above him on the left is Patty. Patty is Linda's sister, and she came to live with them when she was 11. But she was 16 when the crime happened. Then next to her on the right is Cinnamon. That is David's daughter from his first marriage. She was 14 at the time of the crime. And then in the middle is Linda, our victim, and her youngest daughter, her only daughter, baby Crystal. So when police arrive on scene, they're actually greeted by David and Patty's holding the baby Crystal. Okay. And according to David, he said that he was not quite sure what happened because he just got home. See, he has insomnia and he had woken up in the middle of the night because of a fight him and Linda had that was like bothering him. And so he went for a little late night drive. He goes to the gas station down the street from him. He orders an apple pie, a Dr. Pepper, 4 comic books. And then he drives himself to the beach just so that he can reflect in the middle of the night. In the dark. And on his way back, he actually even stopped by somewhere, a Denny's cafe. He didn't get anything to eat, but he just went in there to use the restroom. Basically, he's giving them his alibi, right? Like, this is what I was doing. And David said when he got back home, he didn't know anything was wrong or anything had happened, but when he walked in through the door, he was greeted by Patty, who was holding the baby Crystal. And Patty was hysterical, you guys. She said basically, I think Linda's been shot. Cinnamon tried to kill me. She's panicking. And he's like, whoa, 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 slow down. According to Patty, her and Cinnamon had stayed up till about 11:45-ish watching MTV in the living room. And when they were going to bed, Cinnamon stopped Patty and she had a handgun. Cinnamon did. And Cinnamon said, hey, can you teach me how to use this? I want it for protection. And Patty nonchalantly is like, oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. This isn't weird at all. And she teaches Cinnamon how to use the handgun. She herself didn't really know how to use it. She's like, I don't know. I think you just cock it back and then you can just pull the trigger. And she says, all right, it's about midnight. They say goodnight and they go to bed. Then Patty says, she gets woken up by a really, can I wear both at the same time? By a really, really, really loud echo in her room. And what she heard was actually a gunshot going off. Cinnamon had tried to shoot her. And then Cinnamon was standing in her doorway, Patty's doorway, and she runs off down the hallway, right? She said she looks at her clock. It's exactly 2:23 in the morning, and she's just terrified. Then all of a sudden she hears baby Crystal crying, and 2 more gunshots go off. In a total panic, Patty runs to Crystal's room, grabs the baby, and then goes into her room and just waits until she hears the front door. And so she isn't scared by the front door. She thinks it's got to either be Linda or David. So Patty runs to the front door with baby Crystal, and there David is walking into the house from his little midnight insomnia trip that he took to clear his mind. And that's when they're greeted, and Patty's like, oh my God, Cinnamon tried to shoot me. I think Linda's been hurt, right? And David calls 911. David's dumbass is like, what? Okay, you go find Cinnamon even though she just tried to kill you. You go find Cinnamon, and I'm going to check the house. So Patty goes in the backyard looking for Cinnamon. I can only imagine, oh, Cinnamon. And David checks the whole house, everywhere except for his master bedroom. He said that he was afraid if Linda had been shot, he would get really sick because he had an extremely weak stomach. What does David do next? Interesting question. David actually calls his dad. Yeah, he calls his dad. And he's like, Dad, I don't know what to do. I think Linda's been hurt. And his dad's like, dude, hang up and dial 911. Okay, so that is how we got to where we're at. Now the police are there, and they're immediately like, okay, they go check on Linda. They get paramedics. Linda gets rushed to the hospital. In the meantime, they don't know if Cinnamon is a vigilante or if she is a victim, and they need to find her. They're canvassing the neighborhood. They're looking all over the house. They are on the hunt. And although Linda is transported to the hospital, she has 2 very large gun wounds to the chest at close distance, and she's dead. She ends up being ruled dead at about 4:24, I think, in the morning at the hospital. Meanwhile, they do end up finding Cinnamon. She was hiding in her backyard in one of the dog houses. She had actually gotten really sick and was throwing up. Don't you just love those? And she was throwing up. Let's see if I can get it. Can't get it. Okay. And she'd actually had a pile of pills inside of her vomit, as if it looked like she'd overdosed on something. She was also covered in urine. She was very, very, very sick when police found her. In her hand was a note that said, "Dear God, forgive me. I didn't mean to hurt her." So police immediately take her into jail, and at about 8 a.m. they begin interviewing her. Now, like I said before, Cinnamon had gotten really sick. It was obvious she'd taken an apparent drug overdose, and she actually tells police that. She tells them, yes, I took a bunch of pills and I don't know what they were. And rather than take her to the hospital, they take her to jail, get her a change of clothes, and by 8 a.m. she's interviewing with them. Cinnamon is really quick to own up to what she did. She's like, yep, I shot her, and then I tried to kill myself. She says that she was jealous and there was a lot of tension between her and Linda, and they just didn't get along, and she just, in a fit of rage, got up and shot her ass one night. And at about 8:40 a.m., Cinnamon completely starts going in and out of consciousness. She's having trouble speaking above just a murmur. Her eyes are floating back into her head. Her head's rocking back. And police are like, okay, I think we should get her some medical attention. She did say that she took a bunch of pills. And at the house, they recovered 3 empty pill bottles belonging to David that would have consisted of 260 pills. It was a combination of, I can't remember, but it was a painkiller and a diuretic. And she'd taken dozens and dozens and dozens of them. So the interview ends. She's already confessed. They have a literal confession note she admits to writing that they found in her hand, and she gets transported to the hospital. Very, very nasty recovery. She's treated for a drug overdose, which basically they just induce vomiting, and she just vomits and vomits. It's so bad. It's so bad, guys. So Cinnamon is officially charged for the murder of Linda Bailey Brown, and she is going to be taken into juvenile custody as soon as she gets out of the hospital. Okay? Police go talk to her while she is in juvie, and she now, ever since getting out of the hospital and recovering from her drug overdose, has no memory of the night Linda died at all. No memory. Boom, gone. So Cinnamon ends up being tried as a juvenile, and she pleads not guilty by reason of insanity. Her defense was that she was so depressed, she literally didn't know that in the moment what she was doing and like the difference between right and wrong in that very moment of time when she killed Linda. It's a pretty good defense. She seems to have a decent leg to stand on, but she's ultimately found guilty and sentenced to 27 years to life in prison. However, typically juveniles in the California justice system, they average about 6 years incarcerated. So as long as you do like counseling and try to get better, you typically get released a lot earlier than your sentence date. So meanwhile, back at the ranch, Cinnamon has no idea that her, I guess you could call her sister, Patty, did not ever move out and go back home. Patty keeps living with David at his house. In fact, when Linda died, David had drawn a bunch of life insurance policies on her at several different insurance companies. Now, he couldn't just draw one great big claim because Linda was a stay-at-home mom and wife, and that would be red flagged and suspicious, and it wouldn't get approved. Instead, he got a whole bunch of smaller policies on her, and so no one was none the wiser. He got almost $1 million in life insurance policies on Linda in 1985. Like, that's a lot of freaking money, dude. So Cinnamon has no idea about that. She has no idea that a couple weeks into her trial, her dad actually bought him and Patty a really nice brand new house. They secretly got married, David and Patty did, and they even had a baby together named Heather. David and Patty keep this a secret from not just Cinnamon, from everybody. They maintain that they have a strict father-daughter, non-intimate relationship, even though it looks super suspicious because, like, you know, Patty's constantly with David all the time. She looks just like Linda did at her age. She wears Linda's clothes. She wears Linda's jewelry. And everyone's like 99% sure that that baby is David's, but they will not admit it to anybody. Not David's parents, not Patty's parents, not Cinnamon, no one. It's a big secret. Okay, but after a couple of years, 3 to be exact, Cinnamon starts to catch on to the fact that Patty and David are having a relationship, and she's effing mad. Okay, so she calls her dad up and she says, hey, motherfucker, you need to come visit me at this prison right now. We need to talk. David's like, okay, I'll come to the prison. And what he didn't know is that Cinnamon got tired of having amnesia. You see, it was her dad who told her, say you don't remember anything about the crime, because it was her dad who convinced her to kill Linda. Yes. Okay. So let's back it up. For one, Linda was David's 5th wife. Okay. He had met Linda's family when Linda was only 13. He lived a couple houses down from her. He was 22 years old. And what he did was he noticed all the beautiful young girls living at Ethel's house. Ethel was a single mom with 11 children, an alcohol problem, and a limited income. So her life was a mess. And what David did was he went and knocked on Ethel's door and he's like, hi, my name's David. I have cancer. And I was hoping that I could hire your girls to help me out around the house. And so what David did there was he inserted himself into the Bailey's family. Okay. From then on, he began grooming them. He would buy them things, take them out for ice cream, bring them yummy dinners, like from fast food places and restaurants, knowing they didn't have a lot of money. And Ethel accepted this, and slowly David made himself more comfortable, and he actually began dating Linda when she was 15, and he had to have been like 24, 25. Ugh. So long story short, whenever Linda turned 17, Ethel agreed to let her marry David. They were married for about 2 months, got a divorce. David married this woman named Cindy just for a hot second for 7 months. And then he broke it off with Cindy. Linda moves back in. They live happily ever after, right? They get remarried. And then next thing you know, Linda's 11, maybe 12-year-old sister, Patty, she comes to live with David and Linda because, I don't know, Ethel's house was fucked up. I think maybe she was being molested by one of her brothers. Who's to say? But she goes and lives with David and Linda when she's 11 years old. David quickly begins molesting and grooming Patty, all while being married to Melinda. And at the age of 15, Patty and David start having a sexual intercourse, okay? Sexual intercourse with a 15-year-old while married to her sister. So obviously, David's a pedophile. This is what they do. They groom people. They groom children. And you see, Linda was getting a little bit older. You know, she just wasn't the teenage girl that he married. So he decides, okay, all right, I got to get rid of Linda. I got to get rid of Linda. So what does David do to get rid of Linda? He starts manipulating Patty and Cinnamon to think that Linda was going to kill him. Yeah. And, you know, Patty has loved David ever since she was 7. She was 7 when David moved down the street from them. So she's idolized him. She can't live without him. Cinnamon, that's her dad. And she loves her dad. Like, she loves her dad. So at first, both the girls, I don't think were just like, absolutely. But with enough time, David made it seem like Linda was going to have him killed any day. Apparently, David had like a really lucrative business, and Linda's plan was to kill him so that she could have the company all to herself, and her brother Alan was going to help her run it. I don't know. It was all a lie anyway. So David, though, really convinces Cinnamon and Patty that, dude, Linda is out to kill me, and we've got to kill her first. And his excuse is, I can't do it because I have a weak stomach. I'll get sick. And Patty's like, oh, I'm too weak too. So together, Patty kind of helps David further manipulate Cinnamon into actually killing Linda. And she does. And David also had convinced Cinnamon to take the fall for the murder. And what he said was, dude, come on, you're a juvenile. You're the youngest out of all of us. You'll hardly get in any trouble. In fact, you probably won't even have to go to prison. You'll probably just get like a psych evaluation and have to see a psychiatrist every week, or, you know, something like that. It'll be fine, babe. Just, you know, you do it. Take the rap for it. Cinnamon's like, fine, I'll do it. I'll take the rap for it. I'll shoot her. That's fine. That's fine. So March 19th, what really happened was Patty and Cinnamon had fallen asleep watching MTV and went to Patty's room at about midnight. David came and woke the girls up around 2-ish in the morning, and he said, we have to do it tonight. Tonight's the night, guys. So Cinnamon gets up and she follows her dad into the kitchen, and her dad gives her a handful of, no, her dad doesn't give her a handful. Her dad empties 3 bottles of prescription pills and just has her keep swallowing them by the dozen. Then he tells her, hey, get your suicide note that I told you to write the other day. And as soon as you shoot Linda, you need to grab your suicide note and you need to try to nick yourself in the head. Like, shoot yourself in the head, but don't actually do it. Just graze yourself with the bullet. And she's like, are you freaking kidding me? She's only 14. Cinnamon's like, I'm not shooting myself in the head. And he's like, okay, fine. We'll go with the overdose plan. Just after you shoot Linda, go hide in the doghouse like we talked about with the suicide note. Dude, you guys, this man was seriously trying to get his daughter drugged up and shoot herself? Like, this is awful. All right, so Cinnamon says her dad leaves, and she goes into Patty's room and gets the gun from Patty. And then she goes into Linda's room, and without actually looking or aiming or anything, she just shoots at where Linda usually sleeps at on her side of the bed. Next thing you know, though, the stupid pillow that her dad gave her to cover the gun gets stuck in the trigger. Okay, so she runs to Patty's room, and they feverishly are trying to get this damn pillow unstuck from the gun, and it accidentally goes off And that's why there was a bullet in Patty's wall, not because Cinnamon tried to shoot her. Okay, so after their ears quit ringing from the gunshot in Patty's room, they hear something that sounds like an animal, and it's Linda. So Cinnamon takes the gun in there and she shoots her again before going and hiding in the doghouse. Around this time, David pulls up and it's showtime, okay? So a few years into Cinnamon's incarceration, when she puts all the pieces together and she figures out that David just manipulated them into killing Linda so that he could carry on this affair that he'd obviously been having with Patty, she's pissed. She's so mad. The whole time her dad told her, pretend you have amnesia and I'll work to get you out of this mess. And she had been. She'd kept her mouth shut this whole time and nobody was trying to help her get out of prison. They were just frolicking with all this money. And she tells on them. She turns them in. She tells investigators. And she told them not even for a plea deal. She just tells them. She just gets upset and she tells them. And investigators are like, you know what? Wear a wire. Get him down here. And we will press charges on this dude, right? So Cinnamon's like, okay, bet, I will. So that's why she called her dad and she's like, I need you to get down here now. We need to talk. And desperate to keep Cinnamon's mouth shut, he immediately is going to go to the jail and talk to her, right? Like he's terrified. His freedom's on the line. And by wearing a wire, Cinnamon gets not only just her dad, but Patty both to say enough to incriminate themselves and the murder plot on Linda. And they're both arrested and taken into custody. Patty gets tried as a juvenile because she was a minor when the crime took place. And she actually flips on David and just tells the full-blown truth. She exposes their relationship, that he'd been grooming her since she was a child. She admitted that Heather was his daughter, that they were married. They got married just a little bit after Linda died. Full-out confession. So David ultimately gets charged with first-degree murder, obviously as an adult, because he was 32 when this happened. He was 32, Patty was 16, Cinnamon was 14. And he gets life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus, he had tried to arrange for he'd already arranged for Linda to get murdered. He had arranged for Patty and 2 police investigators to be murdered during his trial so that way he could walk away scotch-free. So not only did he get life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Linda and manipulation of Cinnamon and Patty, he also got 6 concurrent years for the attempted conspiracy to commit murder against Patty and 2 police investigators. The man's crazy. The man is crazy. So David dies in prison in 2014 of natural causes. He was 61 years old. Patty got out when she was 25. That's what she was sentenced to, just to juvenile detention center until she was 25. I think she was 21 when she was sentenced. So Cinnamon had served about, oh gosh, I can't remember if she served 4 years or 8 years. Listen to my podcast. And she got out of prison and she went on to get married. Patty went on to get married. They both had other kids. Life went on. Crystal was raised by her grandma, and it's really sad because her grandma actually told her that her mom was killed in an automobile accident when she was 13. So she went most of her life not knowing the full truth. And then her grandma always told her whenever she heard about the crime, like, don't listen to that. Anne Rule wrote a book and she just filled it with lies. It had to have been a very hard torn between what you know and what your family's telling you. Very little truth, I'm sure, in all of it. So anyway, that story blew my mind. Patty did get custody of Heather back. And like I said, she went on to get married. She had twin boys. And I would say happily ever after, but seems like kind of inappropriate, I guess. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about the episode.